3, live.
You're now watching two old farts making noises. Welcome to Canadian Art Today with your host, Paul Constable.
And we are back. Hello, everybody.
Back. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Hi, Paul.
I'm doing well. Yeah, doing well. I'm kind of working remotely today, but I love that green background. I love the red background.
Yes, very Canadian.
Well, we're very Canadian. We've rebranded you, so I thought I'd give you the.
I love a changing brand. That's very good. Yeah,
we like that.
We've done them now for most shows. I've discovered a new button, which is fatal, of course, at my age. So.
All the technologies, I love the technologies. No, it's it's good. We got a good artist today. A great sculptor, moved from Ottawa, Douglas Squarek. So we will talk with him today.
Should we bring Douglas in?
Let's bring him in.
All right, Douglas, how are you?
Hi, Douglas.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah. Hi,
Good
Douglas.
day, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Good day.
Good day.
So, you ready for this? You ready to go?
Douglas is ready.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to Canadian Art Today. And my special guest today is Douglas Squarek, a sculptor. He's part of Artists in Canada group. And we'll just probably go right in. He's worked in stone and bronze, and he's now working digitally. And just going to talk with Douglas how that's working. You know, how do you transfer your works from three-dimensional works, and you're talking about two-dimensional, which is digital, and how they relate to each other. So let's welcome Douglas. Hey, Douglas, how are you doing?
Good day, gentlemen. Hi. I'm doing absolutely fine, thank you.
Yeah, we got your transition, and you've moved to your new studio. And are you back in your old haunts again? Is that where you started? You started in Ottawa?
Well, I started sculpting. Yeah, I started sculpting in Quebec many years ago, and I've just returned from British Columbia. I was in British Columbia for a while, and I've just returned to Quebec. I love it here in Quebec City.
Yeah. Oh, you're in Quebec City. Yeah.
Yes.
I've got a number of other people that are in Ottawa, and Quebec City it's a beautiful. I haven't been there yet. I've been to Montreal. I haven't got to Quebec City yet. So.
Well, I'll tell you, I visited across Canada over many years, and this is just a wonderful, wonderful place. So.
Yeah.
Just the right size, totally walkable. Many art galleries, very artistic community.
Yeah. So you're involved in a number of galleries as well there?
I have. I started out, I guess, in the 70s and 80s. I was in galleries. The gallery business is sort of up and down, and I've moved to digital galleries. For example, I'm on Artists in Canada, and I'm also on Pictorum. So I've decided to move over to the virtual galleries rather than the galleries themselves.
Right. So that's great, and use your website to connect and do those things, and use some of the programming that's available in both those formats as well.
Right, exactly. Well, that's having a website and being able to integrate that with Artists in Canada and with Pictorum is a good thing for me.
No, that's good. No, we're glad to hear that, and we're glad to help where we can and help connect people. And that's what our programming is about today. Even, excuse me, just talking to artists that right across from coast to coast, and they're different disciplines, and yours being sculpture. So previously you were working in stone and bronze, and now you're working in digitally. Are you still working in your three-dimensional works as well?
Yes, definitely. So I move about. For example, this summer I will do a lot of work on sculpture. So the reason being is that I can do it outside, enjoy the outside while I'm sculpting, and rather than being inside. Now I live in a condo, so living in a condo, you really can't, with neighbors and everyone, you can't really work in stone. So
Yeah.
I'll work in stone this summer. I work clay in my studio here. You can see I have a clay piece over that shoulder over there, right over there. So, I work in clay in the studio and I work on my computer. So one of the reasons that I moved to clay was that I no longer had a sculpting studio per se. So with clay, there's no noise, there's no anything. You can still work well. You just need a lot of good light. And in this studio that I have here, I have that. So
Okay. No, that's good. No, it's just trying to keep your hands into the clay and working it up. So, do you still do some bronze pieces? I notice we've got some samples. We'll show some people as we go through what we're talking
right.
about today. So,
Well, to give you an idea of what this is all about is when you work stone, you cut. Okay, so stone is about cutting, it's about noise, it's about force, and you cut into the stone. With clay, you build up. So with clay, you create an armature, and then around that armature, you put on pieces of clay. If you push clay, it just pushes out the other side, so you can't do that. So when I moved from stone to bronze, working with the clay to bronze, it was very necessary for me to sort of lighten up my hands and to place, clay on the object rather than pushing things around. And then moving to digital, I work with vector. So I work with people who understand vector, understand that you have patches of color. And that patch of color, I can shape it. So if you have a leaf, I can take a patch of color and shape it like a leaf, and then I can put many leaves for a tree, for example. So the digital work that I do is layered. So I start out with a background, just like any other artist does. I decide my background. I decide, let's say, the color of the sky, the clouds. I do all that work, and then I build from there to bring in my objects, and then I build up on those. So there's no, the computer work is vector work. There's no magic computer stuff. It's just taking the patches of color and shaping those patches of color.
yeah. So, you work do the final output on metal? Is that what you normally do?
Yeah, well, interesting. I've always wanted to work with materials that would withstand the test of time. Let's put it that way. So I work in stone, I work in bronze, and I've worked up. I didn't really like working on paper, and I tried canvas, and I didn't like that. But when I started working with the metal, with dye sublimation on aluminum, that really clicked for me. That really works. I like it. It's very durable. I can send it anywhere in the world. It doesn't scratch. It's perfect.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So let's go back to some of the basics. Your stonework. I mean, like we could probably bring some imagery up here. I think there's a stone piece that's you want. Yeah, there you go. So do you, when I have people that say, well, I can see things in a piece of stone that I find, and they sculpt based on what they find in the visual that they may see that stone could be. It seems they say that it talks to them of that nature. Does that happen to you as well?
Well, I think I discover when I'm working with the piece, I discover, let's say I start out with a concept, but that concept moves, it changes. So creativity is problem solution. And that you see very well in the stone. So every time you hit the chisel, you create both a solution and another problem. So problem solution, that's innovation. So with the piece that you have there, it's called Vacances. What you see is you see a person sort of lounging on top, like laying out, and it's sort of a vacance. And I was born in Alberta, and somehow the imagery of Alberta in the foothills also came into the piece, which I accentuated so you can see the tree lines and the things like that. So when you're working with an abstract piece like that one, you really have to have an idea in your head. Otherwise, it's going to end up a very tiny little piece.
Exactly.
So you have to know when to stop, right?
I look at this piece and it almost looks like the back of a lady's head and kind of a flipped up hair in the front. It just has an elegant look about it in a different way. So yeah, it's good to have you say what you see in the piece as well.
See, but that's what abstract is about. It's about doing just what you just said. It's having the beholder, look at it from their view and see what they see. But you will see in the piece very strong flowing lines. There's no bumps. You can see that's a real trademark of my style.
What size?
All of the work I do, you'll find this kind of form. It's called an outward edge. So you'll notice that all of the edge finishes at the outside and then curves through the center. And you'll see that in most all of my work.
Yeah. What size is this piece about?
That piece is about 36 inches tall and about 30 wide.
Yeah, no, it's a nice big large piece. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, these are all my stonework is sold.
Is this a serpentine stone?
Yeah, this is serpentine. Here, I'll show you. I have a piece here. Let me just bring it in. This is serpentine.
Yeah. So it can take on different colors, correct?
Yeah, it's a jade. It's a near jade. So it has this piece here. You can see all of the chisel marks. That's the rough part. And then this piece isn't finished. This is a piece that I'm working on, and it has a way to go yet. But you can see, and this is called cutting. You can see where it's cut here.
Right.
That's sculpting. You may see a lot of pieces that are just rounded off, but this is cut.
So a lot of your work, I notice, is figurative in nature. So is that one of your loves, like to stay more figurative or animal based? Is that what you're mostly doing?
Yes. I'm a realist sculptor, so I've sculpted things that people like. This piece, I love this piece. There's an interesting story here, is that I sold this piece, and I asked if I could go to the person who bought it. I asked if I could take some pictures, and I went to see the pictures, and he had a house full of Cornelius Krieghoff. It was really incredible. So I thought that was wonderful that he had my piece. This piece is just you can really see the serpentine. You can see the rough stone, and then just the rough gouges for the hair, which were put in, and then to settle the base, to put the piece on the base, was just a lot of fun to sit it there and make it so imposing. Yeah. And that piece is sold also. Yeah. But the interesting story is that a young man, the young boy who lived at this home, knocked it off the pedestal and chipped the chin. So it was brought back to me 20 years later, and I fixed the chin. So I just moved it back a bit. And he was very, very happy because he promised his father he would fix it. The face of the piece feels very Grecian in the look of it. And I love how it feels like it's just coming out of the stone, the raw stone itself. But it's just, I think it's the color and maybe the nose and the lips, just the profile look on it here. It's very Grecian or Romanesque look about it. Yeah, I guess over time, you'll see through all my pieces, there is a progression to, becoming very, very more precise. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So this is a piece that was done quite early on.
Was
And
it from a
it's-
model? Did you have a model for this piece?
No, just I just have a good feel for where to stop. So I'm called a direct stone sculptor. I don't point. I don't put any marks on the thing. I just start and I go and I cut.
Yeah. Well, you have a good gut feeling for it. It looks lovely. Maybe we could bring up the, there we go. We have another.
Yeah, this is an interesting piece in what I think you have to do when you're working with abstract. This is a flame torso. So it's flame, can see the flame and the torso. And that's when you bring those things together, the flame and the torso, you create a modern piece, but a modern piece that has a reason behind it, okay, which melds ideas. So, and this was stone that I found in northern Quebec. So all the stone that I use, I find on my own. So this is a lovely gray with a sort of metallic, model metallic pieces to it. Nice piece.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's
I'd like it back.
yeah, it's how tall was this one initially when it was made?
That's about 18 inches tall.
Yeah, no, it's got
But
really nice.
here's a thing
flow
to
and line.
know. A thing to know. As a sculptor, I work in the size that I can work on a table. I can take any of my pieces to Italy and have it made big. So you can. So we no longer sculptors no longer work on enormous pieces. To work on an enormous piece, you would go to artisani and they would cut it down and do all the cutting work, and then you'd finish. So this piece could be done any size.
Right.
And that's the thing to maybe people don't know, but it's important. So, for example, the piece that I showed you, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that piece in bronze. So I'll mold that piece in bronze. I'll have the original, which is serpentine, and I'll probably do a couple of marble pieces on it by taking it to Italy.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, a sculptor, it takes a long time for you to do a piece. So you have to be able to, you have to be able to multiply that somehow.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, when you make original pieces, it's difficult to figure out ways to make multiplicity without it being so-called replicated in mass, right? You still want the individuality of it, I think, as an artist, I think.
Correct. This piece is called Warm Rays of Spring, and you can see that it's a person with a robe sitting, enjoying the spring sun. Beautiful stone, just beautiful stone.
Yeah. I love the line there's a nice line that follows your rhythms in there, like that white line that's going through it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it flows nicely with the piece. It's not going crossways, for instance, right? It's going with the piece, so it has.
And see, you take that into consideration as a sculptor when you pick up the piece. You really have to look at how the veins are going within the piece, and then sculpt it so that it works.
Yeah,
and that you're correct.
Yeah, no, it has a nice rhythm to it as well. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the piece sold in gallery. It went well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. No. Now here's some of your bronze stuff. Which is really, to me, it's almost pop art. Like I mean, part of it is the Porsche hat and the medal around this person's neck and the garmentry on the right. She's a very elegant lady. Can we talk about these two pieces here? Like, I put them together.
Sure.
I thought they belonged together for this conversation. But I think let's just talk about the young lady with the Porsche hat.
Okay. I was sculpting a piece that I just called "Girl with Baseball Cap."
Yeah.
And a fellow who was buying a lot of my stone came to my studio, and he loved Porsches, and he owned a Porsche, and his favorite number was number 9. And he said, "Douglas, can you, put Porsche on the hat?" And he commissioned it. So what I did is I took the colors of Porsche and put them together and put the insignia at the bottom is the metal is a Porsche metal, and did the girl. I now am going to be doing the girl with hat with other things. So there's a possibility that I will do other ones like this. However, was really a one-off. It was a commission, and I just had fun doing it. I just had, she's kind of strong. She's a very strong woman.
She is, and it's still playful. There's an inquisitiveness about her look. She's looking off to the one side underneath this canopy of a peak. It's just that I thought it's quite unique, but it is also very contemporary in design. It's not a lot of your work has history in it. Your previous works and your stonework has history built into it. This one is really stretched into today's world in a different way, right? So different than the stone and that the other works. And the lady,
you have a great deal of. I have more opportunity to be creative since I'm building the armature and I'm building the clay, where the stone has certain limitations. So you're correct. It's a lot of fun to do. Like the brim, for example. The brim, you have to think of that as that was done in mesh, metal mesh, covered with clay, and then it was done.
Yeah, just to retain the shape.
That's right. Yeah, it had to be kept like that.
Yeah. So it's a lot of it is, a lot of people understanding that you need to get things, a substrate that will retain the shapes that you want, and whatever it is, it either clay or wax and things that can be cast out later, right? But you're right. You need an armature. You need an armature to hold it all together.
Right, and then after the armature, here I'll show you. You need to have a. This is the wax. So this wax piece is just being done now. I've moved to doing my own wax because you can see all the imperfections in this wax piece. Well, what I do is I take time and I refix all those. And okay, so this piece has another piece to it, which is that's the necklace. So you can see, to make the back more interesting,
right?
The necklace will go along on the back
and be attached.
And those are two serpents.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful even from the back. I think a sculpture has to work in 3 dimension.
Totally.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Oh, very good, very good.
Yeah. I wish I had better pictures of this one for you to show. There's so much white.
Yeah, well, the ones on the website are better than this one. However, my foundry was so amazed that not only did I do human beings, but I did animals. And but if you look into antiquity, especially into things like fountains that were done so long ago, is that sculptors did both human figures and animal figures. And but this is a Dall's sheep from northern Alberta. This is indigenous, is a very indigenous animal to Canada, and the rings in the horns tell the years. So this Dall is 9 years old, and I did the body in a modern form. I created a modern form for it. the foundry didn't know how to do this in white, so we had to do a lot of experimenting. And finally, we found a way to create the white that we have on the dowel, and highlighted. So how you get these highlighted lines is that we sand off some of the patina to get those lines that come through, and leave the horns as chamois. And this is on a metal base, so it's leaping. So this is a dowel sheep that's leaping from one cliff edge to another.
Yeah.
But a beautiful Canadian dowel.
I like sculpture where you see the bulk of the weight is hanging over top of a small little piece holding the whole thing on the base. So because it's an illusion, right? It's a little thing that you made the sculpture feel light. It's not a heavy feeling. So when you transfer the weights from one end to the other, and the small end is carrying all the weight, it's weights and balances, and it makes the sculpture. Otherwise, it's just a clunk of metal, right? If you put all
I like your thought. I like that.
You put all four hoofs on the ground, it's an animal. But this one is an action figure a little bit, but it's also, like I said, it made it feel like it's ready to jump. It's actually, and creating that's where the sculptor comes in. You have to have that understanding of how to do that to create that illusion, and that's what it is. It's an illusion, but it's also, there's physics and architecture to build that. The armature alone just to build this piece, and then affixing it to the metal base, which is crucial as well. No, it's and to me, it feels minimalist, which I really like. Didn't draw every hair on its back, didn't try to get all of it, but you've got the rhythms in the animal, the underbelly, and the line work that goes underneath from the legs up. So it's a lovely piece. And then even the lines that go around the neck, I think those all build into the animal. Yeah, lovely piece. Yeah.
Thank you. I like it.
Yeah.
That's in Quebec City. That's Quebec. That's a Quebec City piece. That is impacting on me. That's when I walk around Quebec City, I see these pieces, and I'm going to be doing some relief.
Yeah.
But right now, that's a very nice piece up just underneath the Chateau Frontenac, and very nice.
Yeah. No, there's a real story being told in this piece. And when you have multiple figures facing you and going away from you, diminishing, all on a relief form, it's really, you really have to do this to understand how this works. Like if you've never built, say, a window display or anything like that, just to understand when you put multiple figures in, they talk to each other. So the conversation has to be the right conversation. Let's put it that way.
I like it. Yeah. Correct.
I think it's and if it can speak by itself without you having to explain it, like that's the other magic. So you're storytelling in a way, I guess, and I love the piece. I mean, and it's not.
This isn't mine, eh?
Yeah.
This
It's
isn't
not-
one of mine. This is this is a piece. This is I would think that that's a piece in Quebec City. It's on my website, but it's in Quebec City.
Okay, I assumed it was your piece.
No, that's a little more. Paul. That's a little more religious than I am, Paul.
Okay. No. Well, it's not bad to see what other ones are doing. I mean, I assume this
is. I must tell you, but you will see in the future from me some relief work, because there's so much relief work around me. It's just impacting on me. Yeah. So I will do some.
Well, you get into a point where there's space constrictions and different things, and people wanting things on facades, and they don't necessarily, it's three-dimensional, but really not. I think these pieces there, but I found relief work really does, it's storytelling, a lot of it. They're really talking about something. And you're right, this is a religious piece.
You have to come and visit me, Paul. You have to
You know
come and
what?
visit this little city.
You are probably on my list. I'd love to be in Quebec City. I love Montreal. I've heard great things of Quebec City, the food, the people. I just got to brush up on my French a little bit.
Oh, the
But
one thing.
I could drag you along a little bit, help me out.
All there. Hey, that'd be a pleasure.
We could go hopscotching and looking at some galleries. I'd love to see some. Actually, you know what? The biggest gallery is just Quebec City itself. Just going around the streets and the buildings, the
Yeah.
architecture.
No,
it's so
beautiful.
amazing. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Anyway, we stack these on top of each other. I mean, they are two
That's
separate,
fine.
beautiful pieces. Part of it is we just didn't have enough room to put them all on individually. But this is some of your digital work, and then, you know, it feels sculptural. I think, even though it is two-dimensional, and I've seen the whales in previous works that you had for a while. The piece up above, the birds, is I guess I don't know what it is. I'm striking the beaks that strike in a rhythm across the page, right? And then they have these black bodies or darker bodies, and the pin legs, the yellow legs that sit down. So you've got these lines and shapes that are all holding together, and then the shape of all these. If you were to squint and look at all those birds together, and they've got these 5 little bumps heads, but the mass, I think I like the shape. It's very horizontal, but I love this dark shape. That's a personal thing about the top.
Hey, I need to listen.
Well, no, it's you know, some people are animal collectors, bird collectors, and they love the relationship between what's maybe they're looking at on their wall and what they're doing, right? So one never knows as an artist as to what you're doing. I guess I like how you're transferring from sculpture into two-dimensional work. So do these converse in your head back and forth?
Well, you're correct. They are sculpted. I sculpted each of these birds, really, basically. They're done one at a time and set together to make a story. But the heads and the beaks are individual sculpted pieces, and there's translucence here. I like one of the things I didn't have when I work in stone or when I work in bronze is I don't have translucence. So here you can see that when you see this piece, when it's printed, it's very, the wings are translucent to the body and it sits on. So it gives you even more of a three-dimensional feel, one on top of the other. And the wings were done separately and placed on like that. This is all done in pieces. So if you were to see this with all, like in the program, there's just all pieces, one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other. But it comes out to be like you say. I'll take it. It comes out as a sculpture.
So have you thought of taking this into 3D sculpture? So you take your vector program and
I think I've lost you there.
Take it into a 3D program, so making it three-dimensional from your vector program. You might have to use some other facility to do that. So basically they are machined by a computer in a substrate that could be, it could be plaster, it could be metals, it could be whatever, but it would give a three-dimensional look to your existing files, right? Is that been even thought of, that you're thinking about doing anything like that with your digital files? Are you still there, Douglas? I think we got a dead spot.
Douglas, his gerbil, I think, stopped running around the cage for a few seconds. So give him a few minutes, and hopefully his connection will come. His connection come back. I do like the birds, though. I was agreeing with everything you were saying. I think the birds and the whales below are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
So this is the nice thing about live recording.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a possibility with his work. You're looking at you've got a digital file and say, well, you can take and get that punched out on a 3D printer, for instance.
Yep.
And that could be 3D printed in a number of things. All you need is a digital file,
Yep.
and you can move it around. And like he's looking at, there he comes.
There he
comes.
goes.
You're back.
Boy,
There you
I'll
go,
tell you, I don't know
Douglas.
how I did it. I don't know how I did it, but I got there.
Oh, good. Well, we were just talking about, creating using your 3D digital file. Could you create a 3-dimensional image from your digital files?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
like
don't know.
3D, like 3D printing. Like you could take it to no different than taking it to Italy and having.
Oh no, you could. You definitely could. You definitely could.
And working with those, like you said, you've done the base work already. It's a matter of finding a manufacturer that would produce your unique pieces digitally. You could even move the birds around so each one is an individual piece when it's completed. So you don't have to have exactly the same one. But I have, you know what I mean? It would give a relief piece where it's 3-dimensional coming off, where the light would pick up your feathers, for instance, right?
Yeah, like for example, the bird that you see in the front, I can put that. This afternoon I can take that bird and put it on a separate piece of aluminum and have another piece. I mean, I can do that anytime.
Yeah. But I'm almost seeing.
That's the great thing about digital.
I'm almost seeing this thing could be 5 birds standing on your table.
Yes, yes, it definitely could.
Yeah.
But I can do that. If I wanted to do the bird, I could do the bird.
Right.
Just in clay.
Yeah.
So either way, if people thought that was important, one of the things, Paul, is that I haven't been as outward going. Like I've been creating my art. I haven't been selling it or promoting it or doing that. So that's what I'll start doing now. So as you know, I've started working a little bit more with artists in Canada. My site has just been put up in this last several months. So it's good to hear from other people. And I think I haven't been a part of the community, the art community, as perhaps I should have. But I've been working on my art. So, but now, hey, maybe it's a new day.
Every day is a new day. Yeah.
I like this piece a lot.
Well, I love this because it does feel very sculptural. Like this piece, even though it is a 2-dimensional digital piece of work, I think it's a lovely piece. I mean, you're still a sculptor, but you're thinking like a sculptor when you're building these files. So
totally.
I think that it helps, I guess, rest your hand from banging a chisel a little bit too. So it makes you. I find sometimes if I do drawing for a while and don't pick a brush up for a while, then I pick a brush up and then don't do a drawing for a while. So they all help each other along the way, I think.
I think you're correct.
Yeah. No, this is
a nice piece.
Yeah. No.
And it's a piece that's developed to really take advantage of the aluminum background.
Right. You can see it coming through the glow.
Yeah. It really does. And there are 2 types of backgrounds with the aluminum. One is a really color absorption, and the other one shows the aluminum through it. So I use both types depending on which art I'm doing.
Yeah, I could see this very truly as a 3-dimensional head. You could quite easily. This is like a working maquette, a little bit in 2-dimension.
I could go the other way. I like your thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think it's very. I think it's quite neat. Apropos, I guess is the word. Is that?
You like this?
Yeah, this one really snapped. I said, "Do I put this one in?" I said, "They said, sure, why not?" It's really, I don't know. It's popping. It's quite a.
Yeah.
It's a popping piece. I mean, you've really Is it sculptural? Yeah, you can feel the rhythms and the figures in that, and feels like, you know, downtown city. Like it's got a real nightlife look about it. So, and how else do you get something like that? It's just sculpture alone. It's really difficult, but working with digital, you can get a different sense or different feeling, even though it's not 3-dimensional, but it's giving you you know, a vanishing point a little bit, and it's very abstract as well. Yeah, you know, it's kind of a, yeah, it's got a nice little. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, the piece starts out with, let's take the figure in the center. The idea is that the model is not seen, it's the clothing that's seen. So you see that in this series, this is a series called Styleway. And in the series, what changes is what's around the model. The model is like dispensables. That's why the heads are empty. That's why they're just not there. There's no face. So these are models, faceless, and just using their body to put something on it.
Yeah.
So this is what happens with this piece. Further on in Styleway, you can see other pieces that have, you know, that have different things to wear. So that's the idea of the piece. And then having them coming and going is what happens on the runway when you're a model. And then around it is a very city-ish widened view. So I wanted to make it much more expansive and make it bigger. And that's how that piece came together.
Yeah. No, it's got a. It's very different from the other pieces. It's probably.
Yeah, this is very different.
Yeah, but you know, the streamlined of the figure, right? Is probably closer to your Porsche bronzes, like the lines and rhythms that are in that. But it's also a little bit more hip, contemporary look to it than the traditional look of some of your previous pieces. No, it's very versatile format thing. Yeah.
Well, I think, Paul, as you know, we as artists, we have to stop people to look at what we're doing. We need to catch their attention, and this piece is sort of does that. You're not going to find too many people walking by this piece without stopping and looking at it and taking a minute to get through it all. So
it feels like it could be a window dressing in a high fashion store.
Almost, yeah.
So you could walk by the store window and you would see this as the visual, which would be a very striking visual. If you think about it, you take a window that is, you know, 8 or 10 feet wide, and you put this visual in a full height window, and it would be very striking, right? It would be attention getting for sure. No, it's a nice piece. How are we doing there, guys?
That's it. We've run out of artwork to show you. But I mean, it's his site has tons
more
of
on
stuff.
his site. Yeah, there's lots more to see on his site.
More on his site
for sure.
And the nice thing with this, Paul, I don't have to ask my famous question, because on the site he gives you all the information on what his artwork and his sculptures, his bronze, what the costs are, and on his digital work he gives you it, and he breaks it down into square meters. So it's like you can figure it out. So I don't even have to ask what does a piece go for. So it works out well.
Yeah, it's a neat way to do it. And I just on that for a second,
sure.
With the metal work that I do, or this is how that's the backer that comes. You see the backer there.
Yeah.
So the piece, when it's sold, this is the aluminum piece. And you can see there's the aluminum.
Oh, wow.
And then the backer comes on that. Now,
gotcha.
This edge here, if this edge, like all across here, you can put a piece of wood straight there and down here, and then insert it into a museum frame. So I sell my work, all of it, with that backer, and I sell it on the basis of square inch.
Mhm.
And it's easy for people to do that. I charge $1.60 per square inch, and they can get it as big as they want.
Yeah.
So if they want a 4 foot by 4 foot piece, we would be our pleasure.
Right. But the nice thing is on your site, it actually gives people instructions on how to figure it out. And it says, if you want this, you do this, and it gives an example. So even if you're terrible at math, everything's on his site. So when you go to
Right.
Douglas's site, you can go into digital and just go down and it's right there. So it's not that hard to
No.
figure out how much a piece is. And even
I
the
take it,
bronze is
Douglas,
for sale there too.
Sorry, Steve. I take it, Douglas, that you ship across the globe with all
Yes,
your
I
art?
do. Yes, I do. All of the work that I have is really, well, it's not bulletproof. I guess anything can be broken, but it's very, very sturdy. It can be sent anywhere. So we just wrap that in bubble wrap and then in cardboard, and it can be shipped anywhere in the world. So that's why I moved to aluminum. It's very simple, and it lasts a long time. And with just a smooth, soft cloth, you can clean the front, and you can get, if you have an area which is highly lighted, I can do it matte, semi-matte, or gloss. So depending on where it's put. So a lot of
I'll just use my translation services for people who don't know what aluminum is. That's aluminium to people who live in parts of Europe. So
okay, aluminium. Very
No,
good.
and what I really try to impress with a lot of artists is don't be afraid to put prices on your website. I mean,
no, absolutely.
a lot of artists, a high percentage of them, don't price anything on their site. They leave it to, they don't know, they can't understand why people don't contact them. You say, well, we don't want to be, feared by this great price. You realize that it's probably pretty reasonable, but or if I underprice something, if I overprice something, they worry about it. And a lot of times, if you're reaching out with your website, it's best to reach out with a price and be straight up. So much a square inch, so much a square foot, whatever. At least then people know exactly what they expect, one way or the other, and they say that that's my budget or not, and away they go. But if you just leave it blank, great picture, great sculpture, great whatever, but I'm afraid to call them because then it makes it look like I like it, but the budget's too high or not high enough, or I can't afford it. But if you figure it out a system, you don't have to put a price. Like Douglas, you just put so much a square inch. If you want to, if I can only afford 20 by 20, then that's, what it's going to cost. Yeah. It's great.
Excellent advice, Paul. Absolutely. Because it's one of those things we always talk about galleries as well. People are quite intimidated about it. And again, going online, if you don't know what it is, and you go through, put it in your basket, and it's way above your budget, then it's it just, all you're doing is selling. You're actually selling disappointment, and I don't think that's what the artist wants to do.
And you're wasting everybody's time. You're not only wasting the gallery's time or the artist's time, and your own time to purchase something in frustration. So nothing worse than having something that doesn't meet your expectations when it lands on your doorstep and your Visa card or whatever you're going to do. So,
but Douglas's site does not disappoint. And his link will be below, so you can check out his site. But whether you want to purchase something or not, there's some other digital art that you didn't see, which is, if you will, the bear and a few other things. So you may want to go just to look, and it's actually affordable. Like you said, whether you do a 2x2 or a 50 by 50, you can pick the size you like. And then he has, I think, if I'm not mistaken, some bronzes for sale, and it gives you pricing there. So there's things so you can go and you can be like, oh, I can or can't afford it, but you can always look how beautiful it always is.
And I think Douglas does take commissions. So
yes, he does.
Maybe by schedule. He's a busy artist as well, but.
Well, one of the things that I will say about commission work, I do concept-based commission work, which means that I provide the people who are buying the commission with the concept. I do it in digital. Even if I'm doing a sculpture, I do a digital concept so they see what they're getting. The real problem is when someone orders a sculpture and the sculptor doesn't let them see it until the last day,
Big
and then
reveal.
they're upset. Well, working with me, I do a concept. I present the concept at the beginning. I have 2 different points where the people come and take a look at it. And I invite them to the patina. So if we're doing a bronze, I always like to bring them to the patina. I don't know if you've ever been there, but a patina, when it's in the foundry and it's done with a blowtorch, and it's very high anxiety, because you're using different colors and the blowtorch and everything, and people love it. So I like to get people to come to that.
Yeah,
Cool.
Good advice. Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, thank you very much, Douglas. It was a good
Hey.
conversation to have.
Thank you, Douglas.
Yeah.
Thank you, Douglas.
One thing I'd just like to say is I wish there were more of you guys. So
We can make
I
the
don't know if
screen
we
go
can
8
handle
of us. Yeah, we can do
Artist-
8 of us on the screen if you'd like. We could do that.
no, but artists need this
2
kind
Stevens. I don't know. About that.
Yeah, you don't need 2 of me.
and Paul has been really working hard,
Right.
you know, in my case anyways. And I thank him very much. So gentlemen, thank you.
Paul, Douglas, it was a pleasure, and thank you for spending the hour with us, and we greatly appreciate it. So, and we're doing our best. Everybody,
Bye.
thank you for watching the
Bye-bye.
show. And if you like it, hit the button. If you don't like it, don't tell your friends. And like and share and subscribe to the channel.